Thanksgiving Proclamation, a call to prayer in the United States. In 1621, the Pilgrims came to the United States, and over 50% of them perished through the winter. Had it not been for the Indians, all of them were sure to perish. In 1623, Governor Bradford established a day of fasting, prayer, and thanksgiving. From that time forward, different presidents and governors periodically would call for prayer during the fall in November at different times. Then in 1789, George Washington called for prayer and thanksgiving and stated, per heritage.org, where they have Washington's proclamation posted, he recommended to all people of the U.S. to establish a day of public thanksgiving and prayer. After that, other presidents also would establish a proclamation to come together for prayer and thanksgiving. Adams and Madison both called for prayer. But then there were presidents who disagreed with this. And you had the third president of the United States, Jefferson, said it was a kingly practice. Then we had Taylor in 1849 state that this was something that should be kept in the hands of the governors of each state. Later, in 1863, Abe Lincoln established a National Day of Thanksgiving and Prayer. This was after a time of the Civil War when not many battles had been won for the Union. And after this day of thanksgiving, fasting, and prayer, the Union won more battles than they lost from that point forward. So after Abe Lincoln established this day of prayer and thanksgiving, a citizen came forward and requested this to be a national holiday, and she had petitioned many presidents previous to this. And her name was Sarah Hale. She was a poet, and one of the poems she wrote was Mary Had a Little Lamb. Later, to understand why Lincoln would establish a National Day of Prayer after his predecessors didn't agree with it and would do it just periodically, the history behind that is, prior to coming to Washington, D.C., Lincoln was not a Christian. Even after his son died, Lincoln was not a Christian. But in the same year, in 1863, he walked the battlefield of Gettysburg with 60,000 dead. And from that time forward, he'd given his life to Christ. So for the next 75 years, Thanksgiving was always celebrated on the last Thursday in November until 1939. And at that time, President Roosevelt was petitioned by business owners and requested that he make Thanksgiving holiday that year on the fourth Thursday in November, because that particular November there was going to be 5 Thursdays, and had they have waited till the 5th Thursday in November, it would have taken away from the holiday shopping. So Roosevelt agreed, and he established that that would be the day of Thanksgiving. It would be on the 23rd of November. Well, the people of the United States were quite set back by this because a lot of schools had already had their football schedules in place 2 years out. And then families would use that time to gather and celebrate. So there was such an outrage that Congress in 1941 established a law that stated Thanksgiving would be celebrated on the fourth Thursday of November. So there's the history of our Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving in the United States is a call to prayer. And it was established back by Governor Bradford in 1623. That has carried forward until today. And also, we had where our Thanksgiving Day would change. It was never established, and then because each president had its own opportunity to create a proclamation after Abe Lincoln and decide what day Thanksgiving would be celebrated on. And now today, by law, it's always going to be celebrated on the fourth Thursday of November. Thank you.